What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we return with Matt Byrne of Hatebreed. Great to talk to you again, man.
Great to talk to you too. Yeah, you're in the COVID zone.
Yep.
We were just talking about that, man. You are in a crazy spot.
Yeah. You know what? You're in here with me, all right? We both have the same area code that we're calling from. This is actually, out of all the phone interviews I've done, probably like the most comforting.
Yes, it is, right? The old 845.
Yep. 845, man.
You got a little taste of home right now, man. We'll talk shop about the Dutchess County area.
Yep. Well, I grew up in Rockland County, so we've always been like sandwiched between you guys and New York City.
Yeah. My mother is a teacher. Well, she's long since retired now, but she was a foreign language teacher, and her first job, I believe, was in Rockland County. This is going back to the 60s.
Oh, wow.
Whenever I hear Rockland County, I'm not down there that often, but when I am, I'm like, this is where my mother started her career. I forget what town it was. Natick, maybe?
I'm from Suffern. Nanuet. Yep, I'm a 10-minute drive from there, or was.
Yep, that's where, I believe that's where she started her career. So, I do have history with Rockland, if it's even a little disconnected.
Yeah, better disconnected than incredibly connected. But it's so great to talk to you again, as a lot has happened since we spoke last year. We have the brand new album Way to False Self coming out very soon in November, and I don't think there's a better time for metal fans than to get a Hatebreed record at this time. Could the first single that you guys released, the title track, maybe serve as like a clear representation of what this whole album is going to sound like? Or being that the Concrete Confessional kind of like opened more doors for you guys, maybe you're going a little more experimental for this album?
No, I wouldn't say experimental, but I don't want to say it's typical either. I think every Hatebreed album has a nice touch of something new for all the fans without getting away from what we are known for, what our identity is, and what a fan can expect from a Hatebreed song or a Hatebreed record. So it is a good representation. There's some cool stuff going on in there. Lyrically, I think you can tell it's more along the lines of like one of our, dare I say, anthems. Like a Live for This or a Destroy Everything, where the lyrics do repeat a little bit, but that's what creates a sing-along. And especially in like a festival setting, you hear a song like that, and when you're writing a song like that, you just picture 50,000 fans at an open-air festival in Europe singing every word, So that's what that song, that's the kind of identity that song has in the Hatebreed repertoire, It's a festival tune, it's an anthem. And we have another single dropping tomorrow, actually, Friday. I don't know when this interview will come out, but tomorrow, the 23rd?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we have another single dropping now, which will be a little different from the title track. It still has the Hatebreed personality, and I think people will really enjoy that one as well. It's really heavy, and it will be accompanied by a video that's coming out soon after.
Awesome. See, like what I think is great about Hatebreed, is and this could just me being, a Hatebreed fan, but I could tell what will be off of Satisfaction or what will be off of Supremacy or the Divinity of Purpose, etc. So I feel like you're able to kind of like maybe experiment a little bit, try some new tricks and twists, but at the same time, it's still always going to be Hatebreed.
I feel the same way. I can track every record that I've played on or been a part of. The subtle differences from all the other stuff that's out there, every record, whether it be in the recording quality, the tones, the production, or the general songwriting. I remember back to Supremacy, where that was the first album I think we started experimenting with, I wouldn't say singing, but more of like screaming the note and holding the note, more melody than just straight up balls to the wall screaming in your face, which there's still plenty of that too. But I think that was probably the start of where we started being more melodic in some songs with vocally. Every record has its own offerings, and I have a special place for every one of them. But all of them are Hatebreed. I don't think anyone would listen to any Hatebreed album and say, well, this one they really went out into left field. I think all of them still have the Hatebreed elements to them.
Yeah. Well, to me, for my personal experiences following Hatebreed, the Concrete Confessional was the one that took me the most by surprise because the melody that was incorporated in a song like Something's Off, for example, that like really was like, and I thought it was amazing, but like I thought that had one of the most melodic tendencies that Hatebreed has ever demonstrated.
Yeah. You know what? That's one of my favorites off that album because of everything you just said. You know, it stands out on its own, and it was one that we took chances with playing live. But it's another one of those songs that, in that festival setting, it really went over well because it has quite a bounce to it that the crowd can immediately latch onto. We did a video for it, you know, so everyone was familiar with the words and everything like that. It's definitely a standout track on that album. You know, more of, like I said, like more of like the anthem.
Definitely. Or maybe before you know it, you guys will have a gentle ballad.
I don't know. I mean, we do like to take chances, but I don't know if we can venture that far out into the world of acoustic guitar or something like that, or a ballad.
Never say never. A Hatebreed acoustic album. We gotta try to make that happen.
Well, I'm all for it.
Yep.
We got to bring Unplugged back. We'll jump on there. I'm sure we could translate any one of these songs to the Unplugged setting.
Hey, well, you've heard of Richard Cheese, right? Who like sings like Slipknot songs in like a 1940s swing style. So, like,
I have not heard that. I got to check that out.
like he sings "People Equal Shit" in like a 1940s. Like you would think it's like a World War II radio show.
That's amazing. You know, at some point along the way, I don't know, I've looked for it on YouTube and I've searched for it. A guy did a country version of the song Perseverance. I can't remember his name, but it was done so well. And, you know, almost like the chicken picking kind of country style. And I've searched high and low for it online and I just can't find it. And I can't remember the guy's name, but that's got to resurface again, and I'd like to hear more Hatebreed songs done in that style.
Yeah.
Country.
Yep. Somebody did a klezmer, like a traditional Jewish music version of Rammstein's Du Hast Me, and to this day, it's my favorite video on YouTube ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, imagine
amazing.
Rammstein at a bar mitzvah.
Well, you know, they shoot. I can't see that shooting flames out of their face and riding around a big penis on stage. I don't know if that'd go over at a bar mitzvah.
If they did it at my kids, if they did it at my kid's bar mitzvah, shut up and take my money. Tell me the amount, I'll write the check.
Exactly.
Now,
you almost want to just have one for that. I'll have one right now. I'm 45. I'll have a bar, and I'm not even Jewish. I'll have a bar mitzvah just to have Rammstein play.
Well, we'll make that happen. Just invite you better invite me. And look, stranger things have happened. All right, I saw Goat Whore play at a wedding. So,
oh my God, what was that like? Sammy with his the Kerry King nail wrist guard.
Yeah, no, it was a full Goat Whore show, and the bride was in the mosh pit just smashing everybody in their face. It was insane.
I've heard of, I do have a friend actually. He got married, I don't know, 10 years ago, and they definitely played I Will Be Heard. Towards the end, though, it was after Grandma and Grandpa already left. It was just the friends hanging out. People started moshing on the dance floor. That I could see. Yeah. Goat Whore, I don't know. That's extreme.
Yeah, anything could happen. Anything can happen. Being that, I feel like the Concrete Confessional was very, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Looking Down the Barrel of Today was like one of your most successful songs as well, right?
Yeah, it was. It's the most successful streamed single.
Oh, wow.
In our career up to this point, yeah, as far as streaming goes, yeah.
So being that, if you don't mind me asking, was there maybe a little bit of pressure making The Way to False Self? Do you feel, or do you try not to even look at your back catalog when recording new music? You and Jamie and Wayne and Frank and everybody focus on who you are and just focus on the now?
I think there's a little bit of both, honestly. I think you're always looking back at your catalog when you're going to do something new because, well, first and foremost, you don't want to be boring. You don't want to do the exact thing that you just did and just have rehashes of what you've previously done. You want to keep it fresh for the fans. Experimenting is good without losing your identity, but you always want to inject something new and fresh into the tune. So I think you do have your eye on your back catalog constantly. It's not a worrisome, stressful moment for us. But we do things like what Jamie likes to call lyric policing, you know, and I've said that word a million times. You can't say it anymore. You know, it gets put on the list. Or riff policing, where, no, that's what we've already done that here and there. So I think, you know, naturally a lot of bands do that. You just don't want to do what you've already done.
Yeah, and Jamie has said Lyric Police so much on his podcast that I feel like Lyric Police has earned itself a place on that list as well.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be put in the Urban Dictionary or something, or maybe even Webster's. And it's a new term. It's a real thing. It needs to be put into the encyclopedia or whatever.
Yeah. Did you try the Josta Show drinking game yet under quarantine?
No, but I did just try the pasta. But I do remember us talking about that drinking game.
Yeah, where you have to do.
If I was playing drinking games at home, we've been home so long. This is the longest Hatebreed's been off the road. It's funny. I was just talking to Wayne the other day. October 15th of 2019 was the last show that we did with Dropkick Murphys on the tour we did last year. We've been off the road since then. Haven't done one show. It's the longest in 20 years we haven't done anything. So if I start playing drinking games, I'm going to full on become a crazy alcoholic because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I'm avoiding drinking games, all right?
Okay. Well, just for the viewers out there, if you want.
Pasta was great.
Well, if you want to try this at home to all of our viewers, watch any episode of the Josta Show. Every time he says Lyric Police, hard, or I shouldn't say this on the podcast, do a shot. And every time he plugs for a sponsor or whatever, you have to chug your beer until the ad's over. Give that a try at home.
You're the master of that.
I
love that you came up with that. You mentioned that to me last year.
Oh, yeah, I did. You're right. And yeah, that was a good time. That was a a great show.
Going for a while. It's great.
You know, as a drummer, like I've always admired your rhythmic contributions into Hatebreed, and you know the famous saying, "If your drummer sucks, your band sucks." For you, have you always needed the music before you lay down the drum patterns and lay down, you know, the fills and everything like that, or have you ever had like a whole drum pattern already pre-made and maybe the band would write over that?
It's shifted over the years. Early on, with our early records, it was more us jamming in a room, live environment, coming up with riffs or ideas, or maybe there was a song already structured, and it's really just jamming it together, and then I was able to, just a general idea of what my parts would be. I know every time I record a record, there is a huge part of, a huge dose of spontaneity in it. Not that I don't spend any time at all on my tracks. I do. I put a lot of energy, and we do pour over what's good and what's bad and what works and what doesn't, but I don't sit and try to map out parts too much, like, oh, I have to make sure I hit the snare in this spot and then go to a tom here. You know, I try to keep the fills very spontaneous and improv because that's what I do live too. Very seldom do I play exactly what I played on the record live. You know, I like to say that there's live versions of the songs and then there's the studio versions. Not that the songs changed entirely live, but it's just I do different stuff.
Yeah.
So, now in recent years, I think like with technology and everything, guys are writing drum parts on drum machines and stuff, and then like, you know, it works better to have a entire song structure, just ideas mapped out to a drum part. Like this is going for, or this is the tempo, or whatever. So I get that technology has kind of made it easier for guitar players and songwriters to write songs with, you know, a drum machine or something like that. So nowadays it's more common for ideas to be mapped out, and then I take those ideas and you stick with what can't be changed, what is the foundation of the song, and then on top of that I inject kind of my own style into it, my own flair, what have you, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because I can't imagine, and I'm not a drummer, so, you know, I could be talking out of my ass right now, but, like, there's no way, and it's got to be impossible to memorize. Like, there's no way you're hitting, like, the cymbals at the same way that you did in the recording, and, you know, you kind of throw in a couple of extra fills in there. I feel like the live presence, there's a little bit more room for improvisational aspects, right?
Yeah, well, it works for me. I mean, but, you know, it wouldn't work for Neil. He played Tom Sawyer different when they did that live, people would revolt. And you don't want to hear it different anyway. That's the song you air drum to, you know? So, yeah, that's just my approach, my personal approach. Every drummer's going to have a different answer for that question, probably a different approach, whether it be in the studio or the live setting. I just like to have that punk rock approach, that punk rock vibe, man. I like a little improv. I like the spontaneity. You know, you're doing a live show, and there's times when you're riding by the seat of your pants, and I'm going to pull this out. Let me try this. Never did it before. Or, you know, that roll or whatever. Hey, sometimes you screw up, and sometimes it works, though. Sometimes you stumble upon something that's awesome. So, yeah, I don't know. I like that. I like that vibe. I like the energy that the spontaneity brings to the live show.
Yeah, and look, I'm not talking shit or anything, but you can admit it on here. If somebody presents the music to you before there's any drums laid down, how off time is it, or offbeat is it sometimes?
It can be, yeah. It depends on if the person presenting it knows what they're doing with technology or not, or whatever. But no, yeah, it's not off-putting. I guess, you know, it would be off-putting for some people. I think ego gets involved. A certain amount of ego gets involved with the writing process. And it happens to everyone, guitar players, singers, drummers. You know, somebody else approaches you with an idea for what you do. And some guys may feel offended at that, you know. You have to learn to get past that, I think. Like, you're in the studio, especially for a band that has been around for 25 years, you know. And I've been in the band for 20 years now. So you get, well, that's my part, though. I got to do that. You don't tell me what I'm going to do. You know, you get more into the creative flow of just making the record and making a good album and you know, like, what's it take to make the songs the best they can be? Hey, maybe me being the drummer, I wouldn't have thought to do what you're talking about, guitar player. I hear what you're talking about. Maybe I wouldn't have thought about doing that there in that spot. But it's really cool. So, yeah, I'm going to do it because it's a great idea. There you go.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what I think is really cool is because I feel like when it comes to people getting attached to songs, whether you're a musician or just a listener, I feel like melody or lyrics are often what people like tend to attach to the most because, you know, it demonstrates so much emotion. But you as the drummer, where there is no melody incorporated, you don't necessarily have to get attached to your parts too much, I feel.
Being a drummer?
Yeah.
No, it depends, man. Like I said, I am attached to my parts, but I just like that spontaneity. That's my approach, and guys will have a different take on it depending on who you're talking to. But you know, I like the caveman approach. I guess I like the more punk rock approach, and I like everything to be clean. You know, everything's got to be executed right and everything like that. But you never know what you're going to get night to night. The show in Seattle might be different from the show in Portland, Oregon, because that night I just decided to do something different.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. And that's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it, yep. That's what I liked about it. It keeps it fresh for me. Once in a while it throws a curveball to the crowd where they're like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. You know, I like to see the look on people's faces like that and just... you come up with newer ideas on the spot. It's great. Yeah,
I think you did you changed something up a little bit when you played in Ashes They Shall Reap at the PlayStation Theater show last year.
It's possible. Sometimes I throw a little double bass in there where there isn't typically double bass, or just like some kind of tribal thing in there. I mean, I know I'm going through my repertoire of the song, like what strikes me when I'm playing it. But yeah, sometimes, you know, I feel like doing this right there. Just doesn't throw the song completely off kilter, but it'll turn your head a little bit like, whoa, what was that?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And last time we spoke, we touched upon this topic a little bit. There was one part that I left out, though, because we talked about, like, is Hatebreed more hardcore or is it more metal? And we came to the conclusion you guys are definitely crossover. But I never understood. Like, I've always thought that hardcore and metal, they're both heavy, they're both aggressive, they're both raw, they're both very honest. I never understood how maybe, like, a hardcore fan, like an Agnostic Front or Cro-Mags fan, couldn't appreciate a Slayer or a Morbid Angel and vice versa. I was always wondering by that.
I'm the same. Because I see the similarities in both styles of music. I got into metal first, right? So hardcore came later for me, hardcore and punk. But I could definitely see where the metal guys got it from. because when I started listening to hardcore, this band's a little older than this metal band I was listening to, but you could see the influence. This metal band was talking about this particular hardcore band as the influence. I could see where they got it from, the energy and the metal guys just took what the hardcore guys were doing, and they played it a little faster and cleaner, and they just added solos to it, so a little more musicianship into it than crust. You know, they took the crust out of it and put in the shred.
Yeah.
So to say punk rock, the punk rock guy doesn't like this metal band or whatever. I mean, I never understood that either, because I could see where the influences come from both sides.
Yeah, I had like a long discussion with John Campbell of Lamb of God about this, because he was just like, first off, he was like, I could tell you're younger, I could tell that you're in your 20s by asking that, and the conclusion was, I think like hardcore is more about passion, and I guess metal is more about technical excellence. But I mean, there's a lot of technical excellence demonstrated in hardcore as well. So
yeah, and it's not taking anything away from the hardcore side of it at all. I just think like it's hard to, you don't want anyone. I think, hardcore didn't really have many guitar solos, whereas metal was all about guitar solos, and it was all more about speed with those solos and stuff. If you were like a thrash guy. So really, metal guys were just taking like the hardcore punk thing and just kicking it up another notch.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and now with all the,
not a bad thing.
With all this,
not a bad thing at all.
And with the periodic table of subgenres that we have right now, I mean, the sky's the limit of what you can mix with what.
Oh God, yeah. Everything has a label now, right? I don't even know how to keep track anymore. I don't try. Everything's metal to me.
Yeah.
It's metal. It's metal because deathcore, this core, that core. It's all like everyone just wants to come up with a new label just to say, hey, look, listen to this genre I'm listening to. What do you mean? That's metal.
Yeah, my favorite is when somebody says a word and it says core at the end of it, and then you go on Wikipedia and there's only like 2 bands in that whole genre.
I can't believe some of these genres are recognized on Wikipedia. I thought somebody just made that up on the spot.
Yeah, there's a genre called Nintendo Core.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard mathcore, way back in the day, mathcore. I was like, what, mathcore? Oh. Yeah, more off-time bands experimenting with time signatures and stuff like that. They're still heavy. Cool, I get it. But that was the first term for me that started the avalanche of all these different genres. Then you started hearing this core, that core, screamo, emo, boom, 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 all this crazy shit. Every different band had to say they were this genre just to kind of separate them from the group or something. I don't know. It's all metal to me.
Yeah, when a band can't get signed to a label, they just make a label themselves to categorize them in.
Yeah, right.
That's my conclusion. And finally, just before we go, one, it was great to talk to you again and talk about the new Hatebreed and stuff. Is there just anything with the new album you would like to promote? I just saw, actually, like 2 minutes before you call, you guys got announced for Aftershock, which, fingers crossed that it happens, and I would love to see you guys there. Is there anything else we could be expecting for the release of Way to Fall South?
A lot of touring. I mean, it's so hard to predict when this whole blanket will be lifted off the touring world and we can get back to doing what we do. We're supposed to go out in March. With the release of the album coming out November 27th, we have a tour planned March, April, starting off March, April with Parkway Drive. It was supposed to happen this year, 2020. We all know why it got canceled, postponed rather. We're supposed to go back out in March, and my fingers are crossed that it happens. It's still happening. It's ready to go, but the way, month by month and week by week, the way things are constantly changing with this virus and everything, I mean, it's tough to say when everyone can get back to doing, all the touring guys can get back to doing what they're doing, So I hope for a lot of touring with the new album. We do have some videos coming out with the songs we will be releasing and everything. And, of course, there's new merch. With every album, there's new merch. And it's always exciting to get new merch designs out there for the fans. It's been a while, so be on the lookout for new merch. And we did just put out a beer. Free
Yep.
brew, live for this lager. So we hope to have the beer down the road. We hope to have the beer at some of our shows, at some of our events. So that's something to look out for too.
Yeah, and I tried the Rise of Brutality beer that you recommended to me. That was some good shit. Like, so.
Well, you'll love this one too. It's
Yeah.
great. It's a good lager, good German lager, and so far the response has been great. We've done 2 events to go along with it, and we plan to, especially now that we're off the road. So, yeah, just keep an eye out on all the Hatebreed social media for announcements of that nature going forward.
Awesome. And we look forward to hearing the new album, and thank you for giving us some new music to deal with this. And I've been telling everybody this, that when this shit is eventually over, we will enter the best era of music, I think, of all time.
You know, a lot of musicians have a lot to be pissed off about now, so I would totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, we
There's
have
a lot of emotion.
Yep, we have a new Lamb of God album that we're jamming right now. We have a new, like, the most angry, in a new Napalm Death, like, the most angry bands in existence are putting out music now, so I can't wait to see what the mosh pits look like when this officially opens up again.
How good is that new Napalm? Oh my God. I love it.
The violence and insanity in it. I mean, that band can do no wrong.
Seriously. They just keep reinventing themselves, too.
Yeah, and
I love Barney's, the way Barney now kind of changes his vocal style here and there. It's really cool, where he was just always so balls to the wall, and now he's trying some different things vocally, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. And they have big shoes to fill because their last album was a masterpiece as well. So kudos to Napalm Death.
Absolutely. One of my favorites.
Yep, they were so good last year as well, with Sick of It All and Municipal Waste. So back to the metal hardcore thing again.
That's a great lineup.
Yep.
I would love to see that, man. Oh my God, if I was the 15-year-old me was like, wow, where was this went back in the day? Bands like that.
Yeah, the only thing is I was at a small venue and I could just tell that the security and like the staff were like having a panic attack because they were playing that lineup 2 days in a row there.
Oh yeah, they were definitely making their money at that show.
Making their money and making their rounds. If anybody needed like a dentures or something like that, there was plenty of teeth to pick up the floor that night. But Matt, great to talk to you again. Thank you so much, everybody. Matt Byrne of Hatebreed, Way to False Self, out this November. Be sure to pick it up. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.